Is it still worth it being a gig worker? Let's talk about it. I'm sure you heard the company pitch towards you, being a gig worker. You got freedom, you work your own schedule, you be your own boss, you work when you want to. Who wouldn't want that? I know I would want it, but is it really worth the hassle of being a gig worker? Now, you probably say, well, Kay, what exactly is a gig worker? A gig worker, for the most part, and you got a lot of gigs out here, but I'm going to name the three most popular gig workers. And that's a food delivery person, a ride share driver, and a package delivery driver. Those are the main people that I deal with, when I need something. And let me say this before I get started. I really appreciate the gig workers. I mean, they just make life so easy and convenient for you. If you don't feel like going to the grocery store, they'll deliver it to you. And if you need a ride to the airport, they there for you. And if you need a package delivered, they there for you. So it's a welcoming thing to have. These gig workers are excellent in my opinion. But, is it really wrapped up to what they say it is? Because at one time, I wanted to be a gig worker to make a little extra change. And I thought that would be a great way to do it. I had the vehicle, so, and I can schedule whenever I want to and be my own boss. And so all of those things resonated with me that, hey, this is something to look into. And so the more I delved into it, I looked at what exactly do a gig worker make per hour? Well, on average, it's about $12.50, more or less. And you can make as high as $20 an hour depending on what service you're doing and how much time you put into it. Can it be like a full-time job for a gig worker that you can just do gig work and make a living? Yes and no, because if you try to make it your full-time thing, then that means that it's more hustle involved. Because being a gig worker in the three that I named is a hustle type job. You got to be out there. So, what is the yearly salary of a gig worker? On the high end, a gig worker can make about $30,000. Now, is that enough to, make a living? Let's say if you got a car note, and the average car note is about what, $600, and then you got insurance on that car note, and then the average rent, if you got like a studio, that's what, about $900 these days, depending on where you live. So if you got like a family and you need maybe a 2, 3 bedroom, now you're paying more. You could be talking, depending on where you live, probably on the low end, probably about $1,400. On the high end, probably about $1,900 to $2,100. And then you got to factor in your utilities and your food. And we all know food isn't cheap these days. So, $100 don't go far, I can tell you that. So, can you make a career out of being a gig worker? You could, but you would probably, like I say, be hustling, and you probably won't just be doing one gig. You might be doing maybe 2, 3 gigs, depending on how much money you need. I mean, to buy a house these days, you need about $55,000 a year to purchase a house, and that's like a house that costs anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000. So Do the math. And again, it depends on where you're buying at. Now, let's talk about what you need to be a gig worker. Well, naturally, you need a car, and you probably need a car that's in fairly good condition. I remember when I applied for being a gig worker, you had to take your car to a approved service station that they would inspect it before they approve you, and the car had to be a certain year. It couldn't be a really old vehicle. But nowadays, you see all kind of cars out there. I think they kind of threw that out the window and just said, "Hey, we need drivers." You don't have to have a new car. So, whatever. If you can get behind it and push that car, that'll work for us. So now, I don't think that stringent on what type of car you need these days, but you do need a car. Now, having said that, let's do a little math. So, if you make 30,000 a year, or 12.50, or $20 an hour, you have to factor in some things in that salary: the car maintenance, tires, gas. How many miles are you putting on your car? Do you have a car note? How much is it costing you to replace the brakes? Oil changes, things like that. That you really don't think about. But I know you think about that gas though. Because you might even. I've heard drivers say they turn down certain jobs depending on how far out they gotta go, because that's costing you out of your pocket that gas. So you might turn it down if it's too far out. I remember when I was working for this one company and I was doing service calls, and the way it worked was that you had to use your own vehicle, and you use it like a company vehicle. But all the expenses are on you, like what I just named. Everything is on you. And they gave us, like, I think it was like $50 a month to go towards gas. Now, gas fluctuates. And $50, if you divide it by four, you're only looking at about $12.50 per week. And I'm working 5 days a week. So I'm filling up easily 2 to 3 times a week, depending on if I had to go far, if I had to do a lot of local stuff. It adds up. And then again, you got to look at the maintenance. Your tire wear, your brake wear, oil changes, and getting the car tuned up or getting it repaired, and insurance. They wanted me to have commercial insurance. So commercial insurance costs more. Therefore, if you get commercial insurance, if you get in an accident, then you should have enough insurance to take care of it and not uh, make the company you work for liable. So these are all the things that you have to consider. And even being a gig driver, the insurance company want to know, are you being a gig driver? Now, most people are lying and say, "Oh, no, I ain't doing it just to get a lower rate." But if you get in an accident, you get caught up, I think you're going to be in a heap of trouble. So, it's good to be honest about that, because you don't want to get caught up. Then one of the things that I think that really discouraged me about being a gig driver was when I found out that, you're getting robbed. If you are, what did I call it? The like a driver that takes people around. I don't want to name names. A ride share driver. That people can pretend like they want to ride, but really they want to carjack you or rob you. And then you don't have that that shield up there that's protecting you. And I've seen some videos where the passenger go off on the driver because they didn't take them to McDonald's or take them somewhere else or whatever their deal is. And so it's not as safe. Number one. And then two, people want to get in your car. They want to smoke cigarettes or smoke some weed or drink or eat some food and all that. No, see, because that's your personal car, and now you got that going on. And then what if you got to kick somebody out your car? They don't want to get out your car. Now you got to deal with that issue. And then what about the tipping? What if they bad tippers? You done just gave away a ride because now you didn't even get anything for your services. So, and that's even with the food delivery and the package delivery. I think the package delivery make the most. I think they're contracted from one of the big carriers, and I don't want to say no names. But these are all the things that you got to take under consideration when you want to be a gig driver. Is it really worth the hassle these days? And I guess that's up to the person that's doing it, because again, you're using your vehicle like a company vehicle, and you putting that wear and tear on it, and you only getting, whatever the wage is, and then if you minus off what it's costing you to maintain that vehicle, I think you probably like minimum wage at best. So that's all I have for you. Again, I appreciate the gig workers because they're a plus to the economy. They're a big help to me, and I try to take care of them when they come out for me. I'm always tipping because I look at what if I had to go get that water, or what if I had to go to the restaurant and pick up some food or go to one of the delivery services. So that's all I have on it. Again, this is Kay, back at it with a new video. Take care, guys.